Hi everyone, we'll get started in just a minute. Make a couple more camera adjustments. Bring a little closer. Okay, so let's get started. Hi, my name is Caitlin Brown, and I am a yoga instructor, a social worker, and also a yoga therapist in training. This will be a 30-minute chair yoga practice, and it's sponsored by the Corktown Health Center. There's a little bit of a change to the schedule now. I'll be teaching every Tuesday and Thursday, the first 2 weeks of the month. Every Tuesday it'll be 12 to 12:30 for the first two Tuesdays, and then the first 2 Thursdays it will be 5 to 5:30, so an evening practice. And the first week of the month will be chair and maybe some standing, and then the second week of the month we'll do some chair but also have options to come to the floor and use the yoga mat. Today's practice will be done entirely seated, but I will give some options if you want to stand up. So if you have a job where you're sitting a lot and you want to get up and try some of the movements standing, you could do that. But if it's more comfortable, feels safer for you to stay seated, or works better for your body, all of the things we will do today will be seated. So let's just take a moment to sit tall. If you can, sit away from the back of your chair. So scoot near the front of the chair and maybe uncross your legs if that's comfortable. Place both feet flat down. And then just check in with your energy level right now. If you're feeling kind of tired or sluggish and you want a little energy boost, you want to bring more energy in, bring your palms up on your legs to invite energy in. If you're feeling kind of anxious or maybe irritated or agitated, angry, or just kind of stressed or scattered, bring your palms down to help ground your energy. And wherever you are, just take a moment to check in. Your eyes could close here, or you could keep them softly open, gazing slightly down. Notice how your body feels in this moment. There might be parts of your body that are calling your attention. Maybe they have some pain or tension or tightness. But also pay attention to areas of the body that feel soft or relaxed or at ease. So often we tend to focus on the pain or the negative. So also notice areas that feel at ease. And then notice areas that might not have a lot of sensation. These areas might feel neutral or just not feeling anything there. And that's okay. So I often bring the example of our earlobes, right? You're like probably like, oh, my earlobes, right? But unless you just got your ear pierced or something, you might not have a lot of sensation in your earlobes. So just noticing those little areas that we might overlook. Now take a moment to check in with your thoughts. Just notice what thoughts are going through your mind. Are you thinking about something that happened earlier? Are you worrying about something you have to do later? And notice if there's any judgment coming up around having those thoughts. Know that it's okay to have thoughts while we sit and practice yoga or we meditate. We're not trying to erase all of our thoughts when we practice yoga or we're doing meditation. Rather, we're just trying to bring awareness to them. So rather than those thoughts controlling us and kind of leading us here and there, we can notice them, acknowledge them, and then just let them kind of move on at their own pace without forcing them out. So I like to use an analogy of thoughts are like clouds in the sky. Some days are overcast, some days are bright blue sky, no clouds. Often there's something in between. Sometimes it's wind and the clouds move fast. Sometimes they're very still and static. So our thoughts are like this, and there's no right or wrong. It's just different. So just begin to bring awareness to whatever is there and try not to get carried away by your thoughts, meaning kind of following them down the rabbit hole, overanalyzing, judging. Just try to notice them like you would notice clouds in the sky. And now, still sitting tall, still having soft eyes or eyes closed, now bring your awareness to any emotions that you're feeling in this moment. Whatever you're feeling is valid. There's no right or wrong. Notice if any judgments come up around your feelings. Can you notice those with compassion? Try not to meet the judgment with more judgment. And is there anywhere in your body, coming back to the body, that you might feel your emotions? Do they show up in different ways? Right? Happiness or contentment might show up as a smile. Worry could show up as butterflies in the stomach or tightness in the shoulders. Lots of different ways our emotions might manifest in our bodies. So just gently, compassionately checking in and see what you might notice here. Again, there's no right or wrong. And now come to your breath. Just observe your natural breath. Follow your inhale and your exhale. Notice the qualities of your breath, trying to do so without judgment. Is it shallow or deep, smooth or rough, cool or warm? And is there any place that you notice your breath in particular in your body? Maybe air coming in and out of the nostrils, or movement in your chest and your belly. It's okay if it's hard to connect it to anywhere in the body. Just observe whatever is there. So now we're going to begin to lengthen and deepen our breath. And to start to do that, we'll inhale through our nose, exhale through your mouth. Long sigh out. Again, inhaling through your nose, nice long inhale, but not straining. Exhale through the mouth. And go at your own pace, so that could be different than how I'm breathing. Do one more like that. And now we're going to add in movement as we do that. Same thing, but inhale and lift your arms. And exhale, let them fall. So if you want to stand for this part, you could do that. And one more time, deep inhale, bringing in fresh energy with your inhale. Sigh out and let go of any stress or tension with your exhale. Imagine it just melting away. And so for this next part, again, you could be seated or standing. Find what's best for your body. We're going to keep working with breath and connecting it to movement. So now you could breathe in and out through your nose on both parts, but if that doesn't feel comfortable, continue to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. We're going to inhale our shoulders up by our ears and exhale them, circle them down and back. Inhale up, exhale down and back. One more time. And then let's go forward, inhale up. Exhale forward, inhale up, exhale forward, and once more. I like to end with one extra one going back. So check in with your body and see what you need. I know I tend to round forward a lot, so I like to pull my shoulders back. So from here, let's do a lateral stretch, starting with just the neck, a side stretch. So inhale and get nice and tall, either seated or standing. And exhale, bring your right ear down towards your right shoulder. Take a couple of breaths here. Notice if your chin tends to drop in towards your chest, can you keep it lifted a little? One more breath. And then inhale, come back up through center. Exhale to the other side. Notice how this side feels. It could be different than the other side. One more breath here. And then with your inhale, lift up. So now we're going to do that with the arms. And again, you could do this from seated or standing. We're going to inhale our arms up, and then exhale your right arm down and reach up and over with the left. So if you're seated, still try to keep both buttocks on the chair. And then notice whether you're seated or standing, if your top arm and shoulder, your left arm, if it tends to round forward, can you gently pull it back in line with your torso? And you might explore a movement with the head here. You could gaze down, you could gaze straight ahead, or maybe you gaze up. See what feels best on your neck. Take one more breath. And then with your next inhale, bring both arms up, reach up, lengthen the sides of your body. Exhale, left arm down, reach up, and then over with the right. Notice here is the top shoulder and arm rounding forward. Can you gently pull it back, opening up your chest? Keep both hips even. Explore where you might want to bring your gaze, your drishti. So it could be down, could be up, could be straight ahead. One more breath here. Your next inhale, lift both arms up, really reach up, and then exhale and fold forward. If you want, you could sigh out. So if you're standing, you could come to a half lift. Let's all come either halfway down, either seated or standing. So what I mean by halfway down is that I'm just leaning a little bit forward. My hands might be on my knees gently. If I'm standing, my hands aren't on my knees. My hands are above or below my knees because we don't want to press our knees back and lock them. But I'm just folding forward a little bit. And take one more breath here. And then check in with your back and see what you need. Again, you could be seated or standing. And if it feels okay to fold more, so maybe if you're seated, you begin to round your back, slide your hands down towards your feet, let your head be heavy. Reach the top of your head down. If you're standing, maybe you slide your hands down your legs. They don't have to reach the ground. You can always bend your knees if you need to here. But see how this feels in your back. If you're taking care of your low back and you low back injuries, you might want to just stay about halfway or come up totally. You don't have to stay in the pose if it doesn't feel good. Your body is the main teacher, right? So listening to your inner teacher, your inner wisdom. Take one more breath wherever you are. And then slowly come up to that halfway point. From either seated or standing. Nice long spine here. So notice your core engaging, your navel pulling back towards your spine to help you stay lifted. And then with your next inhale, let's lift our torso all the way up and lift our arms overhead. And exhale your hands down to your sides or your legs. Take a moment just to check in with your body. How are you feeling? Check in with your breath. We always want to maintain our deep, even breath. So this next part you could do seated, or if you're standing, you could bend your knees a little bit and have your hands on your thighs. We're going to do a cat-cow. So with your inhale, bring your chest forward and lift your gaze. Your shoulders stay down. Pelvis tilts forward. And with your exhale, draw your navel in, round, drop your chin to your chest. Your pelvis tilts back. So make sure you're far enough away from the back of the chair that you can get this movement. Nice and gentle. Moving at your own pace with your own pacing of your breath. Do one more round. And then after your exhale, come back to sitting nice and tall. So cat and cow, which again can be done seated in a chair, standing, with the knees slightly bent, hands on the thighs, or it could also be done on the floor from hands and knees, is a great one to warm up the back. It's great if you're the first thing in the morning, if you're feeling kind of stiff from sleep, or maybe like midday, like now, if you've been working all day and you need to, you're rounding forward over your computer or over, the stove cooking, can be a nice way to get some movement in the spine, especially in the low back. So now we're going to open up the front of the body with working on the hip flexors and the quads. So this pose requires that your chair doesn't have arms, and I will show another option in a moment to do it standing. And we'll, you could try to figure it out. I can show some things that you could try to do if your chair does have arms. So if your chair doesn't have arms, you would turn sideways and scoot your right buttock and hip off of the chair. So my left buttock is solidly on the chair. I'm holding on to the back of the chair for support. And then I begin to scoot my right leg back, dropping my knee. And if you're really tall, your knee might come all the way to the ground. That's okay. And you should begin to feel this opening. Oh, I can really feel it in my right outer hip, in the front of my hip, in my quadricep. And then I can even begin to draw my navel in, engage my core, lift my chest, and I can even lift my right arm to get a little more stretch along the right side of my body. So if you're doing this standing, you would be in a high lunge. You could be with your back heel lifted, so it's balance in this, and you could always hold on to your chair for support. And you could be short in your stance. It doesn't have to be really long. Again, you might explore lifting the arms. So if you were already doing this seated, you can always come down at any time. And if all you have right now is a chair with arms and you have to stay seated, you might just, if you can move your foot kind of in underneath your chair a little bit, kind of scoot forward with support, drop that knee down, and just see how that feels, and maybe lift your one arm. But hold on, if you have that arm, hold on to the arm with the left hand. And come down. So 3 different options depending on your space and how your body is feeling. And if it doesn't feel good to open the front of the body like that, maybe you just lift the arms and kind of lift the chest, right? So let's do the other side. So if I'm doing this on my chair, seated, facing sideways, right leg is firmly on the chair. And then my left hip, my left buttock begin to come down, but I'm holding on to the back of my chair for support. My knee is pointing down. I might even scoot my knee a little farther back. That could intensify the stretch. So see how that feels. My back toes are tucked under. Again, there's the option to do this standing without the chair underneath you, but hold on to the chair for support. Option to lift the arm. Think about drawing the navel in, engaging the core, lifting the chest. 1 or 2 more breaths here. Check in with that breath. Is it still deep and even? If not, adjust your posture. And then when you're ready, slowly come down out of the pose, taking your time. So if you are standing, I invite you to come back down to seated for the last part of our class. So we'll do one more pose with the legs. We'll work on some hip external rotation. So what we just did, the version of the lunge, the seated Anjaneyasana, or maybe crescent warrior, we really worked on hip flexors, extending those, and then also stretching in the quadriceps. And now we're going to move more into externally rotating the hips and also stretching the groin. So what we're going to do is begin to bring your feet together, the soles of your feet if you can, and depending on your chair, you might have to be creative. So for me, I don't have arms, so I'm going to begin to open my knees a little bit. I'm making like a diamond shape with my legs. Now, it could be helpful if you happen to have like a book, a yoga block, maybe a pillow or something you could place under your feet to lift them a little bit. Yeah, that's much better for me. Again, this depends on your body, your height, but be creative with what props you might have around, right? A lot of our household things could become yoga props. So this is butterfly pose, also called bound angle pose, Baddha Konasana. And you could just very gently open your knees a little more with your hands, but not forcing. Check in with your hips and your low back. How does this feel? And then if it feels safe for your body, if this feels comfortable, maybe you even begin to lean forward a little. Make sure you're not going to fall out of your chair. See what you need. So I'm taking care of my low back at my sacroiliac joint, so I'm going to stay more upright. Take a few more deep breaths here. It'd be nice to come back to the sighing out breath, the inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Do that 2 more times. And once more. Very slowly begin to lift up if you were folded. Begin to lift the knees, move aside any props. Sit nice and tall near the front of your chair. And we'll just end with one hand on our belly and one on our chest. Just seeing if we can feel movement underneath our hands as we breathe deep and even. Let there be expansion on your inhales as your lungs fill with air. And a slight contraction or drawing inward on your exhales as all of the air comes out of your lungs. Eyes could be open or closed here. Breath deep and even without strain. And then maybe you bring both hands over your heart now, or bring your palms to touch, thumbs at the center of your chest. Just take a moment in gratitude, thanking yourself for taking time to tune inward, to connect with yourself, with your inner teacher and your inner wisdom. And thank you all for sharing your practice with me. So thanks everyone. Hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back on Thursday at 5 o'clock. Same thing, a chair practice. And then next week, Tuesday at noon, Thursday at 5 as well. And it'll be a mix of chair and mat practice. Bye everyone.